need the federal government to police the funds that they gave to the state of Louisiana. There's $500 million earmarked for the city of New Orleans that is sitting in Baton Rouge, and we have gotten zero. It's been there for 3 years, and they are waiting for us to be strangled and people not to come back. And then they're going to turn around and say, can we redirect this money? And I know that's the strategy, and I need the federal government to say, release that money now for recovery in New Orleans. And then secondly, I need them to have the political will to rebuild the levee system, which is 100 years old. If the Netherlands can build a system where they wrap the country with locks, if Venice, Italy, can come up with a flood system that lifts San Marco Square, we can come up with something in the 21st century to protect New Orleans, the #1 port in the country.
So you have yourself, you have Harry Connick Jr., who else is trying to revitalize and bring a renaissance to New Orleans?
Our elected officials are all collectively trying to solve the problem. You know, and it's not a time for us to point fingers or whatever, but I think everyone is contributing in a way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we can't hold up the process by having those federal funds be sitting there in our state capital or land banking it. The resources of New Orleans are its people, and if we don't do anything to bring them back, it's criminal. And so I think that we are a resident-initiated group in Pontchartrain Park. Pontchartrain Park to New Orleans is what Baldwin Hills is to LA or Sweet Auburn is to Atlanta. It is a historic African-American neighborhood, middle class, that was started after the Second World War in a segregated New Orleans. First Negro subdivision, as the tour buses used to say as they drove through. And so to honor all of those men and women who fought to give me the best upbringing that I could have to be successful, I challenge my generation of people to come together to recover the neighborhood, and that's what we're doing. We are exercising our right of self-determination. All we ask that the government do is give the subsidies to the people who need to buy the homes. We'll finance and underwrite the construction of the homes. You give the subsidies to the people who are in Atlanta and Memphis and Houston and Dallas who want to come home.
People are saying it's just not, they haven't even leveled the 1900s. They haven't begun to rebuild.
People are land banking themselves. People have gotten a little money or no money from the insurance company. People have given a pittance of what they deserve from their own tax dollars in the Road Home program, which is federal assistance. And so they're sitting there with a gutted home, ready to renovate, ready to rebuild, and just a little bit of money. And there's a gap financing, and there's this money sitting, waiting to be used in Baton Rouge. We've come up as citizens with our own plans to rebuild. Help us with our own tax dollars. My father paid the insurance company for 50 years in the house. For Katrina, he was given $400. That's all they said it was worth. We feel as though he fought for this country in World War II. He gave taxes all those years. It's now time to have the political will to help those citizens. I just got back from Beijing. We are importing our wealth over to China, but yet we won't take the time to use just a small portion of our wealth to help New Orleans. If we had just 5% of the oil leasing off the coast, where we are the only region that allows for drilling offshore, we could do it ourselves without using any tax dollars. But we don't get that leasing fee. So we've come up with many ways to do it, and we just want the federal government to have the political will to give us the facility to do it.
You want
Barack Obama to become president, and I'm going to ask that he steward that mission for Katrina victims still in New Orleans. He's going to speak on the 45th anniversary of Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. But the next day it will be the 3rd anniversary of Katrina. 2,000 people who lost their lives and hundreds of thousands of people who are still displaced in the richest country in the world. But yet I just came back from Beijing, China, where they had the most massive earthquake in their country's history, and they're rebuilding 3 months later, and yet we aren't rebuilding 3 years later.